Hi guys, welcome to my channel. My name is Heather Robinson, and in this video I'm going to be reading the Maze Runner trilogy for the first time. I've been doing a bit of a series on my channel where I'm reading popular series that I just have never read. So the first episode I did was the Lord of the Rings trilogy, then I did Hunger Games, and now I'm doing Maze Runner. I think I'm going to keep this video mostly spoiler free. If I do decide that I have parts that I want to talk about spoilers, I will give you a heads up, tell you where to skip, give you a timestamp. So hopefully everybody can enjoy this video, not just people who have read these books before. Once I get to the second and third book, I may have to become a spoiler video just because it's hard to talk about the second and third book in a series without spoiling things, but we'll see how I do. So Maze Runner series, if I'm getting it correct, goes Maze Runner, Scorch Trials, and then The Death Cure. This is a YA sci-fi series. I'm just going to be reading the main trilogy in this video. I know there's at least a couple prequel books. I'm not going to read those in this video, but if I like it enough, then I might go into it. That all being said, I am about 160 pages into the first book, so I figured I needed to film this intro ASAP before I finished the first book. To kind of give you the general premise of what this book is, you start in an elevator shaft with this kid named Thomas, and that's basically the only thing he can remember about himself. He has like vague memories about the world, but he can't remember anything specifically pertaining to himself. The elevator starts moving, it opens up into this land. There's this whole group of like 50 to 60 boys pull him up out of the elevator. He's super confused, can't remember anything. Come to find out, he has been put into this maze with all of these other boys that they have to try and survive, essentially. None of them have their memories. There's monsters trying to kill them. They have to try and survive. Kind of classic sci-fi stuff. And then, like the next day, a girl shows up, which has never happened before. She delivers a message, and I think that's about as far as I can get without spoiling. That's the stuff that's pretty much on the back. It's been very interesting pretty much so far. He's just been trying to kind of figure out. This book definitely has the feel of a world building, kind of has a separate plot, and then by the end of this book you kind of figure out where we're really going with the series, and then the second and third have like a continuous plot. So it definitely feels like one of those. It feels a little bit like this book is just for the purposes of world building, but we're not really seeing the big picture end all be all plot. So that's kind of how I'm feeling about it so far. It's really good. I've been reading it really fast. I actually just started it 2 days ago and I'm already 160 pages in, I think. So, and this is by James Dashner. I don't know if I ever said that. So that's what's going to be happening in this video. I will continue reading. I will update you as we go. One other thing that I found a little funny is this is a YA book, but they like made up their own swear words in like the maze. Like the boys have made up their own swear words. So it's like swearing a lot, but it's not like actual swear words. It's like they're made up ones. So I don't know how I feel about that, but that was something that was funny that I thought about it. So that's the Maze Runner series. That's what we're going to be doing in this video. I will come and update you when I have more thoughts on the Maze Runner. Hello guys, I have finished the Maze Runner. I think I'm going to give this like 4 stars. The one main thing I really appreciated about this book is I felt like it kept a really consistent intensity throughout the whole book. There wasn't ever a point where it kind of lulled or you were like, oh, we kind of just hit the like, we're waiting for the next thing to happen. It was definitely very intense the whole way through. So I think the pacing is done really well. The ending was interesting. It left off on not necessarily a cliffhanger. They're like in a decent spot for right now, but it kind of set it up for the next book. So the epilogue had a little bit of a thing, kind of put a twist on stuff and let you kind of know what the next book is going to be. That's basically my thoughts on it. I thought it was good. It's a quick read. it's just exactly what you'd expect from a YA dystopian book. So that's the Maze Runner. That means that I am now on to the Scorch Trials. At this point, I feel like I'm not really going to be able to talk about the books unless I do spoilers. So those of you that have not read The Maze Runner, I did really like the first book. I would recommend you read it. I will give a spoiler free review of the next 2 books in my monthly wrap-up, so keep an eye out for that. But if you have not read the rest of the series, the rest of this video is going to be spoilers. So go ahead and exit out now. I will see you in the next one. Thank you so much for watching as far as you did. But go read Maze Runner and then you can watch the rest of the video. Okay, now that we're to the point of doing spoilers, I guess a couple more thoughts on Maze Runner. I am super confused about what is going on. I feel like it's one of those books where I probably would have rated it higher if they'd given more details. I just want to know what's happening with the shady organization that put them there. Wicked, is that what it's called? Wicked, right? I'm thinking of the right thing. Okay. I am so mad that Chuck had to die. Like, why? This doesn't seem to serve any purpose. So, like, why? He was a fun character. I'm gonna be a little sad that he's not in the future books, which was frustrating. The whole epilogue thing was interesting. Like, is this book going to be just another maze trial thing that they're in? Or is it actually gonna be different? At what point do we actually start getting answers? Because I feel like it's obviously teed up the like larger picture here, right? The world has had this whole issue. We're now in dystopia version of Earth. Everybody has a disease, that kind of stuff. But I don't quite get how these guys play into it. Like, are the teenage boys supposed to be able to cure it? I guess seen by book 3 being called The Death Cure, that they somehow figure it out, but like, how does the maze have anything to do with them being able to cure a disease? I mean, I guess it kind of talked about them going to the Andes to find the cure, so maybe it really is that they're just trying to train them, but I don't know. I'm also very interested to see at what point, if ever, we get details on the other group that it mentions in the epilogue that was also in the maze. And like, is that group all boys or is that group all girls? And we're seeing what it's like, all girls versus all boys. I don't know. So that's my thoughts going into the Scorch trial. I'm ready to see the bigger picture. I'm hoping that this isn't just another essentially maze for them to go through. I'm hoping we actually get to some larger answers. We start to figure out what is going on with Wicked, whether or not it's really good like what's-her-face said in the first book. So that's kind of where I'm at. I'm gonna go read this book. I will check back in when I have thoughts. Again, this part is spoilers, so I'll be able to say a little bit more. Alright, hello everybody. It is time for an update on this book. I have made it to page 244, so I'm a bit over halfway. I think I'm almost down to 100 pages left. So I thought I'd do an update really quick before I fully finish this book with just some of my predictions and such. Basically, where I'm at so far, they got sent into the torch, or they got sent into the Scorch, which is basically just like somewhere along the equator. They think they might be in Mexico, and it's basically all just burnt out, deserted no man's land, where they send all of the people that have gotten the disease from the sun flares. So it's kind of like a quarantine zone where everybody's just left to die this horrible death because you basically go crazy. So the group of boys get sent there. They're walking along trying to get to the end where they get the cure, and then they run into first Teresa, who's like the girl from the first book. But it didn't explain that very well. She's being somehow controlled or something. I don't know. And then we just moved on. And then they ran into a whole bunch of people in the city that are diseased. They've gotten kidnapped, stuff exploded on them. And then Thomas, the main guy, got shot. and then Wicked came in and like pulled him out and like fixed him up, and now they're putting him back in, and that's where I'm at. Is they're like about to send him back in after fixing him up because his bullet wound got infected or something, and apparently they won't let him die. So I don't know, the whole thing's a little interesting. I feel like this book's a little bit slower as far as like stuff happening, but you're getting a lot more information about background stuff. So I feel like this is really setting you up to be able to then have a lot of action and fully figure out what's everything that's going on in the third book. My one prediction that I've had is that I think there's a possibility that the people aren't actually in the maze and all of the trials and stuff, and that it's like a VR thing where they've like put them in. I don't know if that works now that he's gotten shot and they like pulled him out and stuff. So I don't know, we'll see, but that's my one theory. Other than that, I don't have a ton of guesses about how it's gonna go. At some point they have got to meet up with a group of girls. That has not happened yet, and surely they're not just going to mention a whole other group and never have them come together. So I don't know if that's going to happen in this book or if it'll end up being in the next book. I really thought that they were going to end up having to battle it out with the girls in this book, but they have not run into any of them except for Teresa. So I don't understand what's happening there. But I think that's most of my predictions and stuff. So I'm gonna go finish this book. We'll talk after I'm done, and that's pretty much the update. So far I'm liking it. It is definitely a little bit slower, but we're getting a lot more information. So there's trade-offs. I feel like for every question I get answered, I have more questions. So I still feel pretty in the dark. I don't quite understand exactly what's going on still. So we'll see how much of that gets cleared up by the end of the book. It might be a situation where I still don't really know what's going on until the third book, but that's how I'm feeling about the Scorch Trial so far. I've got like 100-ish pages, so I'm probably gonna finish this either tonight or tomorrow, and I will update you when I'm done. Alright, hello everybody. I don't even know how many clips I filmed in between the last time I talked, but I finished the Scorch Trials. I think I'm also going to give this book 4 stars. I think it was about on par with the last one. I felt like Maze Runner had a lot more action going on, and it still had a lot of action going on, but not as much. This one was more focused on giving us information, kind of giving us some knowledge, answering some questions, kind of a book. The Maze Runner had less information, but more action. So I feel like it kind of evens out. Both of them are interesting, but I think they're at about the same point. I don't necessarily think that one's better than the other. So let's see, where was I at? They were just about to put what's his face, Thomas back into the trials when I talked last. Pretty much immediately after that they ran into the girl group, which I know I was mentioning that update that I was like, when is that gonna happen? I just needed to read a few more pages. That was an odd little thing. I felt like they didn't really do much with it. Like, they kidnapped him, decided not to kill him, and then it just like immediately moved on and we got into Teresa's betrayal situation. So I don't feel like we really have gotten to know the girl group much, and maybe we won't ever, but I feel like it's interesting considering that some of them are the survivors and it seems like they're all gonna be one group now, that we never really got to know the girls. Like, I think only 2 or 3 of them actually were given names. But I don't know how I feel about Teresa still, and Eris. The whole betrayal thing, I'm having a hard time getting over it. I can't believe he's even talking to her still. And like, I get extenuating circumstances, she was possibly being controlled, stuff like that. But I'm still a little frustrated that I don't have more information. Again, it was one of those situations where the more questions it answered, the more questions I have. And so this last book better be giving me some solid answers. The end of this book was them like finding out who was immune and who wasn't, which I'm a little frustrated. If they kill off Newt, I'm gonna be mad. I mean, obviously they keep being like, oh, we're working on a cure, but I still can't tell who's a good guy and who to trust. So that's a little frustrating. I would really like that to get cleared up. I'm kind of feeling a little over the whole we can't tell who's good, we can't tell who's bad situation. I'd like to just know so we can just go fight the bad guys and be done. Which I don't know if it's ever going to get to that point. Like, this might just be one of those books that is just not going to be that straightforward. Which is fine. Those books are good sometimes, but I feel like this one is getting dragged out a little bit too long. So that's my thoughts on the Scorch Trail. It was good. We got some information. I did start The Death Cure this morning. So I'm about 42 pages in. And I can't remember if it's the beginning of this book, the end of that book. I guess this book is when they find out that some of them are immune or not. And this is when they get told that they're going to be able to remove whatever it is that's blocking their memory. They can get their memories back. Which is very interesting because the three main characters have decided not to get them removed. Like, they don't want their memories back, which is odd. I can't decide if that's like the right move because those three are the main characters or if the main characters are just dumb and stubborn and they should be getting their memories back. It's a little frustrating as the reader because you're following through Thomas's point of view, and so if he's not going to get the answers, then I'm never going to get the answers. So I'm interested to see. Obviously, at some point, I've got to get answers to this book. There's no way you leave this many questions at the end of a trilogy. So, and based off the name, I have a feeling that we're going to figure out the cure for the little plague flare thing. And we're going to cure Newt, hopefully. I'm going to be bugged if after all of this, they don't find the cure in time to heal him. But yeah, that's basically where I'm at. I'm going to continue with The Death Cure. It's our last book, so I've been flying through these. I will say these are very quick reads, so that is super nice. But I'm going to continue with The Death Cure. I will update you when I have more thoughts, maybe final predictions. We'll see. Maybe this will be good enough and interesting enough that I'll just fly through it and not talk. No idea. But I will see you at some point whenever I have more thoughts on The Death Cure. Hello everybody, I have finished The Death Cure. This was a very interesting ending to the book, or to the trilogy. This book is low-key a zombie movie in a book. Like, I know they're not zombies, it's like they have the flare or whatever, but like, they're basically zombies. This is basically a zombie book. I'm trying to think if I even ever updated in the middle of this book at all. I truly cannot remember. I'm really upset about Newt. I don't understand why we couldn't have come up with another way to have that storyline end. And to be honest, I did not like the end of this. I gave this book 3.75 stars purely because I hated the ending so much. I don't, like, why is the ending to this book that we went through all that? We never ended up with a cure. They end up in some no-name place and we've just decided to ditch the rest of humanity and just say, too bad, sorry, we failed. Like, what? What is this ending? I don't get it. How I personally think that this should have ended is I think they should have gone through the flat trans, whatever it's called, the flat trans at the end. And all of a sudden he wakes up and you find out this whole thing was VR-esque. He was in like this mind world and there really is a flare, there really is wicked, and they really are in these trials and they're studying their brains, but they're studying it while they're like in a lab, having all this happen in their brains. And then you find out that people who were dying along the way actually just woke up in real life and they have this happy reunion. We figured out the cure, and that's why they finally let them come through the flat trans, is because they figured out the cure in real life. And so they finally decided to end it because they got all the research they needed. And that's how I am just going to choose to believe that this book ended. Like, I just don't feel like that ending was worth everything that I went through. Like, why? Surely we could have come up with a cure at least. Or like found a way for it to not just be that. I don't know. I also, like, it never explains where they go. Like, are they somewhere on Earth still? And at that point, aren't they just going to run back into people with the flare anyways? Like, or are they somehow magically on some other planet that is now habitable? And why didn't we just do that in the first place and like quarantine everybody over there? Like, it doesn't make sense for them to just randomly be somewhere else on Earth and be like, oh yep, problem solved. We're just gonna start humanity over. I also still don't like Brenda. Like, something about her character just does not sit well with me. She feels so old compared to like the boys. And so I don't like that like her and Thomas are like ending up together. She feels like she should be like his mom figure, not his girlfriend. So didn't love that. I don't know. The ending just didn't sit well with me. I feel like I went through a lot to have such a disappointing ending. I will say I have to give him credit. Like, I do think it takes guts to kill that many main characters and to end it that way. So I will give him credit where credit is due. That takes a lot of guts. I personally am mad about it though. So there you go. And that's why it takes a lot of guts to end a book like that. But with that, I have finished my foray into the Maze Runner series. Would I recommend this series? Yes, I do think it is very good. Except the ending. Just choose to accept the ending that you would like. That's what I'm gonna do. Do I think I'm going to read the 2 prequel books? No. I don't feel like there's enough there for me to be interested. Like, I don't understand why we need a prequel. I would maybe like a spin-off series, like 100 years down the road, and be like, okay, their offspring, did this actually work out? And then maybe fix the ending a little bit and be like, okay, maybe that was worth it if they like show us afterwards. But I don't feel like I care about a prequel. I feel like I know enough of what went down. I don't have any characters from before that I really care about. I don't even really care about Thomas and Teresa before the maze. Like, I don't know. So I don't think I'm going to read the prequel books. But I did enjoy my time. I really liked the first 2 books. The 3rd book kind of lost me there at the end. So that was unfortunate. But that's my thoughts on the Maze Runner. Overall, I think it was good. I guess you probably read it if you got to this point, or you don't need to read it anymore because you've seen all the spoilers. But it was good. Let me know what series you think I should do next. Again, I've done Lord of the Rings, I've done the Hunger Games, now the Maze Runner. I don't know that I necessarily have a specific series in mind for the next one. At some point, I might try and do Harry Potter. I'm not ready to commit to that one quite yet. I'm trying to think if there's any other series that I've thought of. Maybe Fablehaven? I never did read that. I never read Percy Jackson. Are there other ones that I've thought of? I think those are the main ones that I've already thought of that I might read. I did just start Way of Kings, but I don't think I'm definitely not going to read those back to back. So I don't think those are going to be an episode in this series. But if there are other popular series that you think I may have not read, I would love your recommendations for those for another episode of this potentially. But with all that being said, thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed. I hope you found it fun to see my reactions to my first time reading Maze Runner. I definitely had fun filming this. If you want to check out those other videos, I will put this all in a playlist and you can go check the playlist out of me reading series for the first time. But with that said, thank you so much for watching and I will see you in the next one. Bye.